Hi, everybody. Thank you, Seth, and a big thank you to American Grass-Fed and Quivera and HMI for inviting us to speak, helping with the graphics behind us, blogging, podcasting, and untold other helps that we don't even know they did. As a way of giving you context of our complex business structure, the graphic behind us illustrates the overarching entity, James Ranch Agriprises, which all James siblings and our dad, Dave James, are partners. James Ranch Management Company is our managing entity for day-to-day and management decisions. James Ranch Market is our commonly held retail space where the majority of our products are sold. Individual businesses are owned by separate family units. We sincerely hope that by supplying this reference, your minds won't get too tangled up as we proceed. So you ask, how did all of this come to be? When my parents, David and Kay James, arrived in the Animas Valley north of Durango in 1961, they knew they had found their sacred place. Newly married, they wanted to be cattle ranchers and raise a big family. Ranching had been a passion for my dad, and his father agreed with their land choice, so grandfather financed the purchase of 520 acres of irrigated pastures full of cool season grasses. 11 years later, and after many struggles and iterations of their dream, David and Kay had their big family, but life was not meeting either grandfather's or my parents' expectations. In a desperate attempt to save the ranch, my dad became a land developer and subdivided off the southernmost 120 acres to create the first luxury home development in our community. In 1990, it seemed the only way to survive was to continue in land development, this time expanding into golf, tennis, and more houses, 1,100 more houses. It was a hard decision, and my parents were torn. Their love of ranching and for their dear land still beat strong. A respected friend told them of a method of land management that was saving other distressed ranchers. Dad admired this man so much that he agreed to take a class in holistic management from Kurt Gadzia with his soon-to-be son-in-law, John Ott. After the class, the idea of having their now adult children share in the decisions and risks associated with the ranch's future was very appealing. In the coming years, 6 family members met and created the James Ranch mission statement and holistic 3-part goal. From that work, we established the idea of all family members participating in future decisions about our home place, having the freedom to own independently held businesses there and to raise our children as we desired. With that, thank God, the golf course and the houses never happened. The new management philosophy motivated other family members to return to the ranch and bring their land-based business ideas with them. Before you start forming the picture of a family commune, let me be clear. We each had different financial resources, different ideas about how to run our businesses, and yes, diverse levels of commitment to using holistic management. There were tough and uncomfortable times, for sure. But once everyone returned to the ranch, leaving, while sometimes considered, was not an option anyone was willing to act on. Waking up to the spring air perfumed by the sticky sweetness of narrow-leafed cottonwoods breaking bud, or the melody of meadowlarks in pastures, or the joy of a child digging in the soil and bestowing the moniker of Bob on every earthworm, made each of us honor the family goals despite our internal misgivings. Which leads to the question I'd like you to consider yourselves. Have you ever been so committed to a goal or dream that you were willing to tolerate inconsistent behaviors and overcome multiple obstacles to achieve that goal or dream? For the last 30 years, the families at James Ranch have devoted our hearts and souls to making our land better, to keeping our land open and in agriculture through independently held businesses, conservation easements, and deep community support. We have grown from an enclosed carport for a market, only selling our products, to a full-fledged retail market supporting not only ourselves, but over 50 local and regional farmers and ranchers. 9 long years in a tiny food cart has become an on-ranch restaurant, awarded Best of for many years, and is now able to serve our products all year long with indoor and outdoor seating. With as much as we have grown through the years, decisions had to be made by all for the good of the whole. All of these decisions required lots of meetings. So Joe, please tell us how that works.
Well, Jen and I are fans of a guy named Adam Grant, and he has a podcast called Work Life. And recently, his podcast was titled, Why Meetings Suck and How to Fix Them. According to his guest research, for every 1,000 people, $25 million per year is wasted due to useless and unproductive meetings. That's huge. Yet meetings are the primary tool used to inform, make decisions, brainstorm, and execute in the knowledge economy. At the James family, we started working together in the mid to late 90s. It became apparent that our meetings, while needed, were inefficiently long, ineffective in decision-making, lacked full participation, and some thought the wrong issues were being discussed. Frankly, we were struggling between consensus and autocratic thinking. At the same time, I was exposed to a concept called the Delegated Meeting Process on a trip to France. My company adopted the process and utilized it successfully to integrate a major acquisition. I was convinced it got better results. I brought the concept back to the James family, and we all agreed to adopt it in 2000. The delegated meeting process uses 4 key principles. First, meetings are to make decisions and for idea generation. Information-only topics are shared via email, text, or group sharing apps. Second, meetings are everyone's responsibility. Third, meeting roles are rotated among the team for every meeting. Last, there are a minimum of 5 roles. Now, these roles can be combined for smaller groups. The moderator. The moderator asks all meeting participants for agenda topics along with time needed and decision desired. The moderator sets the agenda and distributes it 2 days prior to the meeting. They also facilitate the meeting. The decision driver. During the meeting, the decision driver listens carefully for decisions coming from the discussion and then seeks agreement from the entire team. The scribe. The scribe records pertinent information like decisions made, who's responsible, time frame for completion, and expected budget. The decisions are distributed shortly after the meeting. The pacer. The pacer notes the time requested, keeps the pace moving, and gives periodic time updates. The coach. The coach gives a post-meeting feedback monologue to the group and to individual participants. Over time, the James families have also adapted the delegated meeting process to include the additional roles of host and goalkeeper. The role of the host is to organize the physical space for the meeting and to coordinate any food and drink provided. The goalkeeper's role is to make sure Decisions are in line with our holistic goals. The delegated meeting process allows and in fact expects everyone's participation, thoughts, and involvement. It develops individual and group skills. Moderators develop leadership, organization, and facilitation skills. Excellent decision drivers are great at listening. Coaching coworkers and bosses is not easy. Coaching family members, parents, in-laws, and siblings is extremely hard. But giving and receiving feedback skills are critical to becoming a high-performing team. So what's been our experience with the delegated meeting process? We hold 3 full family meetings per year where we discuss strategic issues and set goals. Meetings last anywhere between an hour and a half and 3 hours. We come prepared, informed, and ready to engage. We include the whole family in these meetings, including remotely. Family members have learned to value each other's skills, thoughts, and opinions, even from the quote-unquote quiet ones. Additionally, the roles have helped family members find hidden talents. Bottom line, great meetings make everyone feel smarter, happier, and satisfied with the time spent. While family meetings are utilized to cover the bigger topics, there are still contracts that need reviewing, smaller projects that need to get done, emergencies to be dealt with, and employee issues to be handled. We created the James Ranch Management Company to handle these issues. The management company is our general partner in our triple LP, and it's comprised of 5 elected family members with terms and term limits. This board has the authority to act on specific concerns for the broader family. Issues that exceed their authority must be brought before the whole family. Now, we all talk about 100-year plans for the land, but rarely do we have 100-year plans for the organization and its people. We feel this is part of our 100-year management plan for James Ranch. That said, we also need to evolve. Jen, please share how our holistic goal is transformed.
As I said earlier, we lived with our original holistic 3-part goal for 30 years. 30 years is a long time. We were busy raising children, figuring out production methods, going to the farmer's market, and trying to improve our land. We would occasionally revisit the holistic goal, lofty and admirable as it was, but not everyone owned it with their full heart. Over the years, it languished, since it was only authentic to the 6 who had created it. In 2023, we are now 3 generations and 20 young adults and young adults. Our world has changed. Our points of view are diverse, and quite honestly, our culture had become obscured by distrust. We had been so focused on achieving our business and land goals that our personal relationships had deteriorated. We needed a holistic goal with everyone's fingerprints on it. We needed a goal everyone respected and held close to their hearts and minds. A year ago, we made the decision to toss out the old and create a new 3-part goal that reflects the culture we want and what we want James Ranch to become. Big project, to say the least. We started by forming a committee of 2 siblings and 2 members of the 3rd generation, one of whom had experience with creating surveys. Using Google, he created an anonymous survey that asked basic questions about how we want to live and work together. For example, a question from the survey was, in what ways could the ranch be serving you better? We had an 85% response rate, and because we had asked for comment on many of the questions, generated 17 pages of comments. The committee had our hands full. But we learned that given the anonymity of the responses, people commented with direct and heartfelt honesty. After distilling the feedback into 9 potential quality of life goals, the committee came back to the family in a special meeting and shared our results. We then asked that they agree to another, more refined survey that would target how we would achieve the goals suggested. The second survey had a 70% participation rate. In this round of comments, the uncomfortable truth about our seriously compromised culture came out. Under the mandate of family harmony from the original holistic goal, we oftentimes ignored our culture problems. We hadn't cultivated the skills to disagree honestly. Because of this, we were not taking advantage of the full talents and diversity of our members. In truth, we have been regenerating our land like champions, but failing to nurture, restore, and strengthen ourselves. We faced a turning point. Did we have the courage to address long-held distrust and judgments? If not, we could jeopardize future generations from continuing our vision. I'm delighted and honored to say that we have approved 6 new quality of life goals. At a recent family meeting, we agreed to get training on communication and conflict resolution. I'm proud to be a part of a group of people who have identified their problems and are willing to go forward with fixing them. The Reverend Jennifer Bailey said, "Relationships are built at the speed of trust, and social change happens at the speed of relationships." We have learned a valuable lesson. Face difficult issues as soon as your team feels them creeping in. Joe, what are the next steps for James Ranch?
We are very fortunate to have successful and profitable ag and ag-related businesses run by competent and conscientious family members. From Dan's super high-quality cheese to Julie's relationships with suppliers to Cynthia's delicious James Ranch burger. That said, we face a lot of the same challenges you all do. Creating thoughtful and realistic succession plans for each business is critical. While each business is responsible for their own succession plan, James Ranch Enterprises can play an important role. We have businesses that have invested in leasehold improvements on JRA land. These leasehold improvements will need to be documented and possibly bought out by JRA so the next generation can afford to take ownership of a business. This way, when someone who owns a business wants to leave and expects to be repaid for a leasehold improvement, the family can avoid awkward and potentially damaging conversations. We need to look at future generations with the idea of a big tent. This tent has a big welcoming door, and it also has an exit with a path back to the front door. We realize people can have a career off ranch and still make a valuable contribution to the ranch either by serving on our governing board, deciding to come back and raise their family, or coming back after retirement. When someone comes back at 60 and wants to start a business, we want to encourage them. Family members can also leave, learn important skills, life lessons, and help the whole thrive. Just like no one wants a monoculture on the land, we don't want a monoculture of thoughts or ideas. We acknowledge the coming generations will probably have more owners making their living outside of the James Ranch than on the land. In business terms, these folks are our shareholders. We also have owners who will choose to pursue opportunities on the land. In business terms, these are our managers and who are also our shareholders. The key is to keep both groups engaged, happy, feeling respected and valued. We need to treat business owners and shareholders with grace, respect, and fairness. We want to reward both groups in a way that everyone stays engaged. It's important for those on the land to be successful and those off the land to see enough benefits to remain involved. Tough, but possible. Treating everyone fairly and for all members to trust that the big tent concept works is critical. Speaking of those returning, affordable housing for family members and employees is a huge concern. While we don't have the answer, we can't bury our heads in the sand. Our businesses must be strong enough to pay a living wage, and we need to have open arms to non-family members who are passionate about regenerative agriculture and producing great food in a way that the daily grind is not discouraging. James Ranch also aspires to create a startup venture fund to help family members and perhaps non-family members create businesses that can thrive under the James Ranch umbrella. We are also facing the question of when and how to make owner distributions. At the heart of this discussion is the desire for fairness between generations. One generation wants to be rewarded for the efforts during the lean times of yore, and the later generation wants to make sure they will have opportunities in the decades ahead. We can and need to do both. We have a lot of work to do. Back to Jenn's original question, have you been so committed to a goal or dream that you're willing to tolerate inconsistent behaviors and overcome multiple obstacles to achieve that goal or dream? Currently, our answer to that question is the family's unwavering commitment to our mission, fed by the passionate support of our community and the raving customer base. It's a dynamic collaboration. But the true answer lies with future generations. Thank you. We'd be happy to take questions if
Are
we
there?
got
Oh,
time.
I see one over there. I'm coming.
Did you seek outside coaching and facilitation for the progress you've made?
We haven't at this point. I think it's we will. We're not. I don't think we're completely through all of everything we need to do. We have utilized professionals in terms of lawyers and accountants, but we've been able to handle this in-house, and I think it's a testament to back to how we have meetings and discussions and feedback. I think we've been able to express our opinions and in a way that's constructive. Jen, you have
Another question. I'm curious if you have some core employees who are not members of the family, and if you're remunerating them just with money or with stake in the company, and how you think about that.
Well, so all of our employees currently are part of a separate business unit. Even though the market is part of JRA, it's run by Julie, and it's a separate business unit. So those decisions are made at that business unit level, which has different owners. I think what's interesting is we've talked about and we've had discussions that say, where we go in the future, there may be non-family members who become owners of our businesses. And I think that's that's something that we have to grapple with, that, we got 10 grandchildren, or third generation, and we got 5 or 6 businesses, and they're popping up all the time. And you don't want somebody who's not passionate and knowledgeable and wants to move a business forward, that's who you need to have running that business. So we're in a time where succession and where we go, I think, is a really interesting, dynamic, challenging time.
Two questions real quick for you. When you use this delegate framework for meeting style, do you constantly change who takes the roles and how do you make those decisions? And then my second question real quick is about capital. How much margin do you need in order for everyone to have a business or have a living and have failure and be able to survive those failures and have businesses in the future?
Oof.
I'll take the second one. You can talk about that.
I can do the delegated meeting one. That one's for him. So yes, every meeting, a new person is the moderator, a new person is the scribe, and we have 3 meetings a year, so everybody gets a shot at doing it probably every second year. You will repeat. But that helps the person who's the moderator, man, do they have a job? They have to organize things and tell people they can't have that on the agenda because it's not a decision thing. And I mean, but once you find out, gosh, that person's a really great moderator, and they didn't even know they were. So it is a rotating thing, and it's a skill developer. Okay, your turn.
Well, so I'll take a shot at it, and we can talk maybe further later. But so, yeah, first off, when there's new businesses, particularly if there's money lent by the family, it requires a business plan. If we've had businesses in the past that have gone through tough patches, and they've borrowed from the family, but I think we've learned over time that we got to run it like a business. So while we can give them a break on interest rates, payments are due, and I think that was tough. I mean, it was tough for me to want to even bring that topic up, and I'm considered, the hard guy, But what we found is the moment you set real rules, people conform versus constantly pushing the family envelope. So yeah, that's a piece of how we do it. I'm trying to explain that. And do we have enough margins for people? Yes, we do. Each business, we don't have anybody who's got, they may get additional income off property, but they don't have a second job.
Great. Thank you, Joe and Jen. Everyone give them a round of applause.